Hi everyone, thanks for dialing in to the webinar. We're waiting for a few participants to dial in, so let's just give them some time to tune in, and we'll start in a couple of minutes. Thank you. I think we can start. So yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone dialing in around the world. My name is Ling. I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at I4E. So first of all, welcome to the Innovation for Electrification Showcase webinar. We also call it I4E. It's organized by I4E, so the Alliance for Rural Electrification. And we created this showcase series to bring our members one step closer to potential collaborators by giving them the chance to directly showcase their products and solutions. So with that, I'm happy to kick off this edition of the I4E series. It's on energy storage and recycling best practices. And just so you know, that this is also part of a wider campaign that we launched in September. So yesterday, we launched a newsletter on the same theme, so be sure to check out the contributions from there too. You can also subscribe to our newsletter so you can keep up to date with all our campaigns. And here you have the agenda of today. It will be moderated by my colleague Julia, and she'll be setting the scene, and she'll be talking about our latest initiative. It's called the Partnership for Responsible Battery and Metal Recycling, also known as ProbaMet, and she can tell you more about that later on in the webinar. And I'm also happy to welcome as well and hear from 5 of our members. So you'll be hearing from Comap. They have a battery energy storage system that is good for like rural and remote areas. We will also be hearing from EcoLife. They've got cold rooms and rice husk systems that they've implemented in Uganda. We'll also be hearing from Royal Power Services. They've also got energy storage and recycling initiatives in Nigeria. We'll also be hearing from Rotten Ness. They have something called Nestor, which is quite an innovative energy storage solution using hydro pneumatics. So excited to hear about that. And last but not least, we'll be hearing from Sustain Solar, and they are using different energy storage types and making it possible for them to offer different flexible tailored solutions. So for your information, the session will be recorded. The recordings and the presentations will be made available on the I4E website. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Make sure you mention the name of the speaker you want your question to be addressed to. So about I4E, so for those of you who don't know us, we are a global association for the decentralized renewable energy industry. We're made up of 200 members, and they work in more than 55 countries and covering 3 continents. So I4E, our membership is quite diverse, and it's quite unique in the sense that we federate all decentralized renewable energy technologies and system sizes. And for when it comes to battery and energy storage, we have over 115 I4E members that work on energy storage. So that's about 57% of our membership, and you'll be hearing from 5 of them here. And I'll finish off with this slide here. This is a slide about on our membership services. So we offer 4 service lines. The first one being business and market development. The second, capacity building. We also work on policy and advocacy. And last but not least, we work on communications and marketing. So with that, I wish everyone an insightful webinar, and I'll hand over to my colleague Julia, who will be facilitating the webinar.
Thank you very much, Ling. And yes, indeed. So hello, everyone. I'm Julia van Frans, Policy and Advocacy Officer here at I4E. Welcome to everyone to this webinar. And I'll, as Ling just said, briefly present this initiative that IRA is working on, together with our partners, clearly, on integrating circularity practices in the DRE sector. Next slide, please. As you all know, batteries are used in many applications, so from cars to distributed renewable energy systems, as well as clean energy mini-grids. And the proliferation of these DRE solutions clearly leads to increases and across the region, so in Africa, Asia, Latin America, etc., to electrify the more than 670 million people lacking access to electricity. And as a result, the demand for batteries will increase as well. This again will lead to growing end-of-life battery volumes that need to be soundly managed and recycled. So you see the cycle of why this is nevertheless an important topic going forward. Next slide, please. So the initiative itself, so the Partnership for Responsible Metal Recycling, or in short, PROBAMET, aims to improve battery recycling with focus on Nigeria, as well as raise labour and environmental standards and establish sustainable trade flows for raw materials. The project itself, just as a brief background, is supported by GIZ and is led by the Öko Institute in Germany, as well as the other partners, SRADEV Nigeria, which is a think tank, and well, ARE, as well as Platform Blei, which is an initiative of the Wirtschaftsvereinigung Metalle, which represents the non-ferrous metal industry. So to ensure the success of this project and working closely with associated partners, is really key. So here we've also worked with the Ministry of Environment, for example, and some other stakeholders. Then indeed, so for many low and middle income countries, unsound lead acid battery recycling is a major public health concern and has negative short, medium and long-term implications. So according to this study from UNICEF on toxic truth, called The Toxic Truth, 1 in 3 children have elevated blood levels globally, and lead acid battery recycling is a leading source of that exposure. So, and on top of it, so this exposure reduces the IQ amongst other negative impacts and costs low and middle income countries $1 trillion. So the impact is quite large, not only in terms of health and environment, but also lives that are impacted, as well as the economy across the globe. So let us quickly have a look into lead acid recycling a little bit more detailed. Yeah. So in so many regions of the world, recycling takes place in substandard and highly dangerous and unsafe conditions. This exposes workers and the neighboring communities to these hazardous substances. This does not only occur in the informal sector, which you can see here on the left, but also in the section in the middle, which is the low standard industrial smelting from licensed and registered recyclers. So why is that? Because in unregulated markets, the low standard industrial smelting is clearly highly profitable. This clearly needs to change. So, but in the next image, in the next slide, you will see an image of a large-scale recycling plant. And you do not even need measuring equipment here, because you can see the hazardous emissions right above the building, the recycling plant. So do note that this is a reoccurring phenomenon, so it's not rare, even for licensed and registered plants, so not only in the informal sector. Next slide, please. So how do we address this dynamic in Nigeria, but also, I mean, this could also apply to other countries. In this particular case in Nigeria, the aim of this initiative is to create a coalition between the battery users, such as actors in the DRE space, as well as lead using industries, together with national policymakers and regulatory authorities, with the aim to ensure common standards, that they're respected and adhered to, and also in part as a second step by assessing facilities together, and as well by raising awareness with the DRE sector on the impact your choices have, yes, as mentioned earlier, in terms of health, environment, and economy as well. So the aim is also for the DRE sector to see that it's important to not just give your batteries to low standard polluting recyclers, which are here in the slide in black, then but instead to really look at who you give your batteries to, and to then partner with the best available recycling facilities. So the sound recyclers, the ones that ensure sound management of all batteries. So these are the white ones in the diagram. And for the plants that are in the middle, so gray here, it's very important to work closely together with them to ensure sound management as a second step, let's say, progression into that direction. Next slide, please. So as a first step, the project already conducted recycling plant assessments in 6 battery recycling plants in Ogun State, Nigeria in April this year. And the 6 plants form the bulk of the battery recycling capacity installed in Nigeria. And all of them are mid and large scale recycling industries. Sorry. So the assessment, which was conducted together with the Federal Ministry of Environment, as well as NESREA, which is the National Environmental Standard and Regulations Enforcement Agency, as well as Ogun State and Lagos State protection agencies, and the Alliance for Responsible Battery Recycling. So you can see there are quite some partners that are that we're working together with. So this was jointly conducted with them, and out of the 6 plants visited, 5 of them show severe weaknesses in various technical and operational aspects of used lead acid battery. And yes, indeed, here in this slide, you can see some of the images of our findings, which might be a bit shocking. So on the left, you can see evidence of unsound storage and handling of material. So this leads to the leading of fugitive emissions and exposure of workers and communities, obviously, and showcases dangerous working conditions. The floor you see here is completely cluttered and full, but it should actually be held clear and ideally constantly held humid for the dust to settle rapidly and to not whirl up as soon as anyone passes. So yes, you can see a stark contrast to how it should ideally look. In the second image, yes, this here well, according to industry experts, you can see lax handling of highly hazardous filter plant dust, which is even more toxic, as it should not even be visible, this dust, as it contains 40% of lead acid, which is a human, which any human takes up really easily. So it shouldn't even be visible. In the third image on the right, let's say, you can see a furnace, which is not housed in. And so therefore it emits a lot of lead fumes and dust, especially while tapping, which is, well, part of the process. And last but not least, clearly, due to the hazardous dust that deposits on the clothes, it is imperative that the workers have adequate facilities, clearly, such as changing rooms. And most of the plants that were visited had insufficient changing rooms, as well as showers and work clothes and protective equipment, and also no health monitoring of workers, such as standard lead in blood testing. So yes, this was quite eye-opening, let's say. However, as mentioned earlier, one of the 6 plants really showed a remarkable difference with the others, and it uses sophisticated and up-to-date technologies and very high recycling standards. So this really gives hope and reassurance that it is possible and that we're on the right path. And thank you. So as you might have expected, this on the right is the scenario this project is aiming for. So we need more high standard industrial smelting. So how do we achieve this? Clearly by sharing the knowledge across all relevant sectors, including the DRE sector, by through push factors such as sanctions to ensure standards are implemented. And last but not least, clearly by ensuring that the companies who have invested in high standards are also rewarded and have more opportunities to actually do their work, therefore, and receive more end-of-life batteries. Next slide, please. So in the framework of this initiative, ARE has gone actually a bit larger or beyond the scope of lead-acid batteries and looked into general battery management. And we drafted the circularity guidelines you can see here, which calls on the DRE sector to be aware of the consequences, as just highlighted earlier, and to ensure that you procure batteries known for their durability and longevity, for example, to minimize early replacements, as well as employ repairable and recyclable systems designed to reduce the waste. Another point also, for example, in terms of take back, to ensure that at the end of life, the sound management of all batteries is taken into consideration and from the start of the project, and also that partners that one partners with the best available recycling facilities in the country. So it really is important for actually all actors in the field to be more aware of this and to be active in this and proactive even. And so yeah, so again, just to re-emphasize that this is not only focusing on lead acid batteries, these circularity guidelines, but on all batteries, and should clearly or also addresses all actors in the DRE sector. So not just the developers or the EPC, etc., but also well, the producers, the users, the funders, as well as the recyclers of batteries. Really, it's a shared responsibility amongst the entire value chain. And so we call on all to read the guidelines. You can see the scan code here, but we will share it later on as well. And we call on all actors to also endorse it and implement the different points in the guidelines. So yes, that's it from me. Thank you all very much. And I will now actually exactly give the floor to Tristan Place from ComApp, already introduced briefly by Ling. So I'll hand it over. Tristan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Julia. Thank you. Well, hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar. We'll have a quick look today at the role of battery energy storage systems and the associated energy management systems and how they support the growth and resilience of rural electrification. Next slide, please. So I am your host. My name is Tristan. I'm a product manager here at ComApp, and actually I'm the product manager for one of our newest controllers. It's the IntelliNeo 530 BESS, and as the name suggests, it's specifically for battery energy storage systems. On screen, you'll see a QR code there for my LinkedIn and another code which will take you directly to the web page for the IntelliNeo 530 BESS at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. So who are ComApp actually? ComApp is a producer of smart control solutions for power generation and then the management of the energy that is generated. What that means really is that we have a large portfolio of products, of controllers, all with embedded functionality. They are designed to meet specific applications. For our partners globally, that means they can deploy projects quickly and easily using local teams and local resources, keeping the cost of project deployment as low as possible. ComApp was started in Prague in the Czech Republic in 1991. So we have more than 30 years of power generation and energy management experience. And from that small start in Europe, we now reach globally with 25 subsidiaries and more than 70 distributors. So we are able to support projects in rural electrification and many other projects all around the world. Next slide, please. So very quickly on the state of rural electrification, as Julia already mentioned, more than 1 billion people still without power or without a reliable supply of power, 13% of the world's population in 2024. We really need to be actively involved in solving this problem. Of course, the benefits of electrification are well documented. Along with this electrification comes economic development, education and inspiration for our young people, health and well-being improvements, social and gender equality improvements, quality of life improvements, and of course, significant step up in environmental sustainability. So there's a lot of work to be done, and it's important work, but it is not without its challenges. Next slide, please. Along with all the benefits, the challenges are, of course, geographic isolation. Rural communities are often remote. Getting infrastructure to them is difficult, especially when we start to talk about extending the grid into these communities, where it can cost tens of thousands of dollars per kilometre just to get low voltage lines, and then you still have to distribute the energy when you get there. Even if you can get grid support into rural communities, it's often not reliable or resistant to outages, so the benefit still isn't there. Now, renewables should help here, and they certainly do, but renewables, of course, are an intermittent source of energy supply. The sun does not always shine, wind does not always blow. So typically then what we see is communities falling back onto diesel generators as their primary source of power, which is not ideal. Next slide, please. So in comes the battery energy storage system there as a way to overcome the limitation of these intermittent energy sources. So we use the battery then to store that intermittent energy for later use. And typically when we're talking about battery storage these days, we're talking about lithium ion. It has a higher cost. However, the higher energy density and higher efficiency tend to outweigh this, and has a long lifespan of 10 plus years with very low maintenance. So it's becoming very, very popular. Of course, in the past, a lot of storage has come via lead acid batteries. They are still available. They're lower cost and quite common, but with lower energy density, they are big and bulky, shorter lifespan, and they require a lot more maintenance. They are quickly losing ground to lithium solutions. Of course, battery energy storage, the benefits are many. It enables reliable off-grid energy systems, often referred to as microgrids. So in many cases, no grid is needed at all. Of course, if there is a grid there, a battery energy storage system can greatly improve the reliability of that, reducing the frequency and duration of power outages when they occur. The running costs savings over time against something like a diesel generator are significant. As soon as you remove those fuel costs, the ongoing running costs are reduced significantly. So the battery energy storage system becomes the star of the show. However, an energy management system is needed to tie all of these things together. Next slide, please. So here we can see the ComApp energy management system, and what does that mean? Essentially what it means is a powerful collection of products, of controllers that all work together to bring the embedded functionality needed to deliver an energy system, a robust energy system. That embedded functionality can support a grid if there's already a grid there, making sure any drops in the energy are covered by the battery, or in fact, if the grid does fail completely, we can seamlessly transition the community over to the battery, and when the grid returns, we can seamlessly transition back so the community doesn't lose any energy. Also, the energy storage system optimizes the other energy sources as well, always trying to go for the highest efficiency, prioritizing solar and wind, and leaving diesel generators as the last resort. Now, the system, it is embedded with built-in functionality. However, it is also very flexible. Customization is common and easily achieved with the software tool, which is freely available. And the last key point for the ComApp energy management system is its scalability. So assets can be added over time. If a second battery needs to be added, or more solar or more wind, these can just be added without any need to change the system as it is. What this means is that you can increase the capacity and resilience of the community's supply as the community grows without any redesign. So keeping the upfront costs as low as possible. Next slide, please. Now here we see a great example, a case study of Cape Barren Islands. It's a very small island to the northeast tip of Tasmania, which had a very, very similar system. They had 2 diesel generators, which were their prime source of power. However, these 2 diesel generators have now become the backup, and the solar panels supply all of the community's power needs during the day, with sufficient capacity to charge the battery. So during the night, the battery supplies reliable, silent power, and also makes sure that everything is balanced to meet the energy, or make sure the energy needs of the community are met by the available energy sources, always keeping in mind peak efficiency. Next slide, please. So the benefits, both economic and environmental, of using battery energy storage systems. Well, the cost effectiveness of batteries is already there. The lower operational costs than generators and the lower maintenance costs are there. However, the total cost of ownership now for a comparable size generator to battery is about equivalent over the life of the asset. So they are really becoming a viable alternative to diesel generators. And of course, reducing the reliance on diesel generators is one of the prime goals. We reduce the greenhouse emissions, we reduce air and noise pollution, we decrease exposure to volatile fuel prices and even the availability of fuel during sometimes when fuel availability is low. And environmentally, we see such an uptick in the impact. Greatly reduced carbon footprint, greatly reduced deforestation, and support for real sustainable development goals, particularly in the climate action and energy access areas. Next slide, please. So future trends and opportunities. So is there really a commercial opportunity here? Well, yes, absolutely there is. It's estimated that around 40% of global GDP growth is going to come from the renewable sector, which is exactly the market that we are talking about. So advances in battery technology, this is certainly a key trend, increasing energy density, reducing costs and extending battery life, integrating the battery with more and newer renewable energy sources, puts a strong reliance on the growth of energy management systems, just like the ComApp energy management system. So there is certainly a long-term trend and a real commercial opportunity there. And then the potential for scaling up of existing rural electrification efforts. If there's already a system in place, we can easily scale it up to meet the needs of the community and potentially replicate that success or the success of that model in other locations all around the world. Next slide, please. In conclusion, rural electrification is crucial and it needs our support. Challenges in providing that electrification, they are significant, and battery energy storage systems are critical in addressing these challenges. The economical and environmental benefits are certainly there. They are great and continually increasing, actually, and the commercial opportunities are also great. ComAv are investing heavily in the future of rural electrification, both through our products and through our interactions with our partners to deliver projects around the world. So please come and join us in this effort. And this is my last slide. Here are some ways to contact us. Please reach out. We would love to connect. Thank you very much for your attention, and please feel free to ask questions at the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tristan. Indeed, another point as well to always feel free to ask questions in the chat. Yeah, I see time is running a little bit, so I'll pass straight through to Hadija Nantamni from Ecolife. For yours.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Hadija from Ecolife. At Ecolife, we design and deploy post-harvest technologies, including solar-powered cold rooms in rural Africa. I want to share about the innovative practices we have adopted for energy storage and recycling in Uganda. I will share about the Ecolife ITIS, rice husk insulation system, and second life battery. Next slide. Next. The problem in Africa is lack of storage facilities, leading to high post-harvest losses. There is no electricity in these rural areas. Our solution is the Ecolife cold room. On top of every cold room, we have a roof structure with solar panels, powering an inverter, a set of batteries, and an air con unit. The structural materials for each cold room include a brick wall with rice husk insulation material developed by ourselves. Inside the cold room, we have a water thermal energy storage gel that is cooled during the day and functions as a heat exchange media at night. Both the energy storage batteries and the water thermal storage gel effectively maintain the room temperatures in a range of 2 to 10 degrees Celsius. Next slide. Next slide. Hello, next slide. Good, thank you. No, go back to the third slide. The third slide. Thank you. On this slide, the pictures display the hardware components as well as the prototyping, development, and implementation stages of our energy storage and recycling system. The first picture, you can see batteries inside a powerhouse. The cold room contains an air con unit and water thermal energy storage gel inside the green plastic jerrycans, as you can see in the second picture on the first row. We tested our rice husk insulation properties in a laboratory. During the implementation stage, we were overwhelmed by the room temperature, both during day and night. our innovative energy storage system is effective in sustaining the room temperature in a range of 2 to 10 degrees Celsius, as I shared above. I now want to tell you about our project, Second Life Battery for Rural Homes. One challenge that we faced as we worked in these rural communities, as we constructed these cold rooms in these rural communities, one challenge we faced was reduction in battery capacity. At the end of the battery's primary use, we conduct tests to assess whether the remaining capacity can still provide sufficient power for low energy applications. So we do 3 steps. Step 1, we assess the battery health to determine whether the battery still has enough capacity and is in good condition. Even if it can't hold the full charge, it may still be sufficient for powering small loads in rural homes. In the beginning, I told you there is a problem of lack of electricity in these rural homes. So step 2, we match the battery's remaining capacity with the energy demands of the small household. This is to ensure that the battery is not overstrained. See the picture where there is a gentleman in his house enjoying light inside his home. Think about the other users of the light, like the grandchildren. We have installed 5 odd batteries in 5 rural homes. We do proper maintenance for these batteries to keep the batteries charged, preventing them from being fully discharged. And this is a very fantastic story. And it's a practical way to extend battery life cycle and make the most use of their remaining capacity. Next slide. Our energy storage systems enable farmers to store and sell more produce. To the users of our technology, our innovations improve energy storage. Our practices boost energy storage in rural areas. Our innovation, the ITES innovation, is an excellent energy storage solution. Second Life batteries are repurposed in these rural homes for lighting. Agricultural waste, as I described in the beginning, are recycled for insulation, boosting energy storage in our cold room. Our solutions are powered by solar energy, reducing carbon emissions in Uganda. All said, we are ready to collaborate and implement industrial solutions because we know one day there will be the end of life of these batteries. We are ready to recycle them with the recommended industrial practices in Uganda. We welcome you to collaborate with us as we innovate and create sustainable solutions in Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hadijan. So yes, now I'll straight away give the floor to Mr. Adewale Adubezan from Royal Power Energy Limited. The floor is yours. Are you here? Yeah. Great, thank you. I can't hear you. I don't know if I'm the only one, but.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's perfect. Thank you.
Lovely. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adewale Odugbeson. I am the CEO of Royal Power Energy Group. Royal Power Energy was founded in 2005 and is an ISO certified company. We predominantly focus on storage solutions for the telecoms, banking, and industrial industrial industries, within industrial sectors within Nigeria, West Africa, and now Central and South Africa. We boast of a large team of about 130 130 staff, including field engineers, who predominantly visit sites and design solutions, solar solutions, storage solutions, and recycling solutions also around the country, specifically in Nigeria and larger West Africa. Next slide, please. Our solar and storage deployments are as follows. We've done over 1,900 solar installations. By the end of 2024, I believe we would have surpassed the 2,000 solar installations milestone. We're currently at about 14.1 megawatt solar capacity. By the end of the year, we would have done about 15 megawatts, which I think is the highest for any solar institution in Nigeria. In terms of storage, we've deployed 293.6 gigawatts of storage cyclic life within the country since inception, and we've deployed 145 megawatts of power solutions within the country over the last almost 20 years now. As you can see, we focus on financial institutions, the telecom sector, industries, commercial residents, and also schools within the country. Next slide, please. Our primary energy storage solutions are three: the lithium batteries, the SMF batteries, and the tubular batteries. Lithium batteries obviously are the newest form of battery storage solutions within our big three, as we like to call them. The lithium batteries are now gathering a lot of steam, and we use them specifically for our telecoms and our residential deployments primarily. We also have the SMF batteries, which is sealed maintenance-free batteries, which don't have as long cycle as the lithium batteries do, but are way cheaper than the lithium batteries. They've probably been our largest selling product to date, although lithium and tubular are slowly, taking over. Tubular batteries are mostly for residential deployments. They are what you call wet cell batteries, where we have to top up, so they're not maintenance free like the lithium or the SMF batteries. We do need to top up with distilled water, probably depending on usage, every 6 months, I would assume, for regular installation. They're quite competitively priced and also way cheaper than the lithium batteries. But the only downside there is they do need maintenance once every 4 to 6 months, depending on usage. The next slide, please. Our future storage solutions, we are in sort of the last phases of developing a sodium-ion batteries, which we're quite excited about. The sodium-ion batteries are like lithium, just would be a lot cheaper and would have probably a lot more cycles than the lithium. So your cost per cycle, right now, the cheapest cost per cycle battery products that we have would be the lithium batteries, but with sodium coming in, it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot more environmentally friendly, and a lot more sustainable. While that's not in commercial production yet, we do expect that with the advancements that have been made, we do expect in the coming year or two, we should soon have some of those solutions hitting our shelves. And then we also have the supercapacitors, which are larger sized battery solutions and have almost an infinite number of cycles that can be used. They are really mostly for grid-tied great backup grid solutions on the distribution company and generation company level, so they're not for retail or even wholesale deployments, but for larger size grid level deployments. Those are pretty much our top 5 storage solutions. We do design each solution based on the requirements that our customers have within those sectors that I had identified earlier on. What we'll try and do now is, as we sell a lot of these, we've probably sold more batteries than probably anybody in Nigeria to date. I know that's a large scale, but as a result of that, we have also had to look at how we sustainably address the downsides of batteries, which would be the end of life and disposal of that. I know Julie had a whole presentation on that, but I'd like to also share a bit of light on what we are doing in that area ourselves. Next slide, please. So as Julia mentioned, there's a huge importance on recycling, most of all because of the lead acid poisoning that we've seen within our larger West Africa and Africa as well. And as a result of that, we are quite interested in how proper disposal of energy storage batteries specifically are handled. What we have done, we'll show on the next slide. We have a certain criteria. Next slide, please. Yeah. Certain criteria and process that we follow with deploying such large numbers of batteries. We could deploy 2,000 and 3,000 batteries to a single customer. What we also do, we also provide a service that where we, when it comes to the end of life of those batteries, we go and we discuss with them and prepare a process for them to follow, which we usually spearhead in terms of actually what they do with the end of life. So we collect most of those batteries. We sort of do initial dismantling, which is just the separation of the plastic and say the lead within our site, and package that. And try and export that. We don't do any recycling in country, but we just get the scrap lead and export that to our partners who actually do the recycling themselves off site. Next slide, please. Try to hurry up here. And what we do is we also offer a buyback program for these used batteries. I'll skim through this. We offer a buyback program, which can be in the form of cash or credits towards purchase of new batteries. We give customers incentives, and we make the whole process sort of seamless as long as they tell us when they need that to be done. We offer very competitive pricing, which is tracked with the LME pricing for lead, and provide that cash to them or discount to them, as a result, keeping everybody happy. This is the most environmentally responsible recycling that we've sort of like set up within country to support a sustainable end of life handling of batteries. I think I will wrap up there in order not to go over time, but I welcome any questions that anybody has later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, and also keeping an eye on time. So thank you so much. Yes, please, everyone, if you have questions, feel free to write those in the chat. Yes, and address the speaker who you want to have the answer from. So now I'll pass on to Jérôme Deguillage from Rotten NES. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for attending this webinar. Thank you to the Alliance for Rural Electrification for giving us this opportunity to talk about our energy storage solution today. My name is Jérôme de Guillage, and I'm responsible for the business development at Renewable Energy System. Next slide, please. So we are a Belgian company, part of a small group of family businesses that have been innovating in the renewable energy sector, and more specifically in hydroelectricity for over 40 years. Retail electromechanic, with whom we collaborate on a daily basis, is specializing in the design and manufacture of water turbines and builds and operates several low-head hydroelectric power plants in Belgium. At the Renewable Energy System, our approach is more focused on research and development of innovative solutions. We are currently developing a cogeneration system totally different from what currently exists on the market, which I won't go into today, and a new kind of energy storage system called Nestor, which I will tell you about straight away. Next slide, please. So, well, when I say a new kind, it's not exactly true, as our storage solution is largely inspired by pumped hydro storage, but with that advantage of being free from any topographical restriction. In fact, and to cut a long story short, we put pumped hydro storage in a box. Of course, available power and capacity are much smaller than those of a classic pumped hydro plant, but the main objective is to provide a decentralized storage solution for mini-grid applications, where a few hundred kilowatt-hour already represent a significant amount of energy. So how does that work? We call it hydropneumatics. On one hand, there is a pump and its motor for the charge, and on the other hand, a specifically designed hydroelectric turbine and its alternator for the discharge. There is a low pressure water tank and a high pressure water tank. It works all in closed circuit, so we don't need more water than the first time we fill the system. Whenever there is energy and free capacity available for storage, the pump will start to send high pressure water into the high pressure tank. And the air inside the tank, shown in red on the illustration, will progressively compress, thus storing the energy received at the motor of the pump. Once energy is needed, the valves feeding the turbine will open and the compressed air will push the pressurized water into the turbine, thus releasing the stored energy through the alternator. Of course, it's a bit more complicated than that, specifically for the energy management, but that's basically how it works. There are two things that I would like to point out here. If you compress air to 100 bar, it's roughly like having 1,000 meter hydraulic head. It's already a big mountain. The second one is, as the compressed air is released, the pressure gradually decreases. And as you know, a hydroelectric turbine typically has an operating point calculated for a given fixed head. This means that we had to design a specific turbine to take that unusual pressure variation into account so as to maintain the same efficiency throughout the operating range. So what is interesting in this kind of storage solution? Next slide, please. So environmentally speaking, it's expected to be durable. Pumps and turbines are components whose reliability and durability have been demonstrated in many sectors of the industry. And when properly maintained, their lifespan is expressed in decades. Same for the pressure vessels. I mean, the tanks and the water tanks. This means that it is not necessary to replace the storage unit at any point during the project's lifetime. So there is no capex reinjection and no additional transport or installation cost associated with storage. As a consequence, the question of recycling mainly arises at the time of dismantling. And as the majority of the machine is made of steel, it's easily and nearly totally recyclable. To some extent, steel can even generate a certain residual value, which can reduce the cost of the operation. In terms of risks, when compared with certain other electrochemical storage technologies, The Nestor is not classified as dangerous goods for the transport and does not present risk of thermal runaway and consequent damages. In terms of performances, the most interesting aspect is that the storage capacity is 100% usable, without limited or recommended depth of discharge. Also, there is no self-discharge or degradation of capacity over time. Another interesting fact is the insensitivity to operating at high ambient temperatures. Indeed, the diverted energy related to the temperature control of some electrochemical storage technologies can sometimes be significant. Finally, the maintenance operations of the system are relatively simple and straightforward. So in order to put some figures on these performances, and as it's impossible not to be compared to the market dominant battery technologies, we found helpful to use a simple comparison method given by SMAP in some of their analysis. Next slide, please. So in this table, SMAP multiplies the number of cycles by the maximum depth of discharge and by the round-trip efficiency of a hypothetic single 1 kWh storage unit. The implication of these performance differences is that one single kilowatt of lead-acid battery will, over the course of its lifetime, be able to cycle 800 times to 60% depth of discharge at 80% efficiency, storing and releasing 384 kilowatt-hours of electricity before it must be replaced. On the other hand, if you look at the lithium-ion battery technologies, it will release 2,160 kilowatt-hours of electricity, over 5 times more than the lead-acid batteries. This partly explains why lithium has been increasingly preferred to lead-acid batteries, despite being more expensive in terms of initial investment. If we make the same comparison with the Nestor, assuming a 25-year service life, this suggests that with 5,110 kilowatt-hours, it should be more than 13 times more performant than lead-acid batteries and more than 2 times more performant than lithium-ion. Unfortunately, performance is not everything, and being more performant does not necessarily mean being the best. Next slide, please. Our solution has drawbacks too, and at this current state of development, the most significant is cost. I won't go into the detail of cost today, but initial capex and presumed levelized cost of storage over a standard project lifetime are expected to be higher compared to lithium-ion or lead-acid, and must definitely be improved to be able to economically compete with these technologies. This is partly due to the fact that even though pumps, turbines, and pressure vessels sensibly have a longer lifespan, financial plans of more than 25 years are difficult to justify given the small size of the project. However, the number of cycles achievable will make it possible to work for even longer periods of time. Something that sometimes can be seen as a drawback is also that our solution is containerized, which means it's bulkier than a battery cell and may not be able to be transported to certain remote locations where access is complicated. Minimal port infrastructure and site accessibility are required. The size of the machine also makes the storage less modular. The minimum capacity resolution is 30 kilowatt-hours. Finally, we still have a lot of work to do to improve the pressure vessels cost and reduce the overall cost. I believe the emergence of the hydrogen sector and its work on storage vessels could help us achieve this. So if I have still a few minutes, I would like to briefly talk about our current projects. Next slide, please. Yes. So we are about to install a first low pressure system in a remote village of Sao Tome Island. It will be part of a comprehensive electrification project supplying electricity to more than 250 people. Return energy system will take care of the supply and installation of the PV plant, the Nestor storage unit, and the low voltage distribution grid. We have also developed a specific energy management system in order to encourage rational use of energy. Next slide, please. In terms of research and development, we are aware that we need to increase the energy density of our system so as to reduce space requirements and cut costs. This is the reason why we are currently finalizing a prototype at 250 bar. Note that this will be the first time in the world that a hydroelectric turbine will work with such a high hydraulic head. So as you can see on the slide, integrated in a rural mini grid, the result in size and appearance could be as shown here. The table on the left gives a few specifications of the storage unit. You will notice that the pressure vessels are installed vertically. While it might be urbanistically problematic in some areas, I like to think that in a rural village, a water reservoir could be placed at the top of it and allow for solar pumping, which in turn would increase the load factor and reduce the levelized cost of energy of the mini-grid project. That's it. Thank you very much. And do not hesitate if you have any question.
Thank you very much for this presentation as well. Last but not least, I'll straight away pass on to Julie Roberts, but also please everyone feel free to ask any questions you may have to the different members who have presented their solutions so far, and also to Sustain Solar. So please do write that in the chat, which is on the right-hand side. Looking forward to your questions. Thank you. And now, Julie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, ARE. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. It's been really great to hear about the movement of improving battery recycling on the continent and all of the activities of my colleagues so far. I realize I'm the last one and we're short for time, so let me jump right into it. I'm excited actually to speak to you about Sustain Solar's practices in energy storage. Okay, we're on the next slide. Okay, so let me introduce you to Sustain Storage, a South African company incorporated in 2018. Our mission is to accelerate Africa's clean energy transition with turnkey systems, which means that we are an integrator. And we pride ourselves on being a technology agnostic system integrator. So what this means is that we get to work very closely with industry-leading partners and leverage their advancements and innovations. We have a very flexible approach, which enables us to deliver tailored solutions to meet the unique needs of each client. To date, we have successfully deployed over 83 containerized energy systems across 15 countries on the continent, from off-grid mini-grids to commercial and industrial installations. And we bring our expertise to every application to ensure that the project is optimized for efficiency, longevity, and sustainability. We believe that if we can keep abreast of the newest technology and properly integrate entire systems, that we can provide future-ready, high-quality, long-lasting solutions to our clients who can then focus on their core business. So enhancing people's energy access, improving energy security, whether it's a remote mini-grid or a health center delivering critical services or some commercial application that needs to keep working throughout grid instabilities. Today, I'm going to focus on some of our strategic alliances with industry leaders Balancel, Polarium, and EcoFi, and showcase their greatest features and the honor that we have to integrate them. So please move on to the next slide. Starting with Balancel. Balancel has been leading the way in lithium battery technology since 2009. Manufactured in South Africa, their batteries are ruggedly designed for harsh environments and large-scale applications. What really sets Balancel apart is their proprietary BMS, which has been in development since 2001. Their batteries connect to a global IoT platform, can provide real-time monitoring and predictive maintenance, and that ensures reliability and operational efficiency. The sustainability is at the core of their operations. Their batteries are designed for easy on-site repair, actually, and at the end of their life cycle, components can be replaced and cells recycled at their facility in South Africa, ensuring circular economy and minimizing environmental impact. Next, please. Introducing Polarium. This is actually a company, a European company that has been working in the telecom industry for a very long time. They have a very good reputation for high reliability energy solutions. Polarium offers two types of chemistries, nickel, manganese, cobalt, NMC, and lithium iron phosphate, each one having their own specific purpose. NMC batteries are known for their higher energy density, which makes them ideal for applications where space and weight are critical. such as backup power systems in telecom data centers, which is what they specialize in. And this particular technology is new to the rural electrification industry. There's not very many applications of NMC so far. The LFP batteries provide exceptional longevity. They have a lower energy density compared to NMC, but as we've heard from various speakers so far, they do excel in terms of thermal stability and longer life cycles. So Polarium has recently established an assembly factory in South Africa, in Cape Town, and that really allows for rapid support and maintenance on the continent. Sustain, we are proud to be Polarium's only containerization partner on the continent, finding innovative ways to apply this technology in our Sustain boxes for health centers and productive use applications, as well as across various C&I applications. And sustainability is also a key focus for Polarium. Their batteries are designed to be recycled at the end of their life, reducing waste and supporting circular economy. Next slide. EcoFi. So shifting our focus a little bit, EcoFi has become a leader in optimizing energy management systems across various applications. So their EMS is highly adaptable and capable of integrating a wide range of energy components, renewable energy components, and grid energy components into one cohesive and efficient operation. EcoFi's EMS excels in coordinating energy flows between solar panels, batteries, EV charging, heat pumps, and like I said already, grid networks. This capability allows the users to maximize self-consumption, reduce reliance on the grid, cut energy costs, etc. They're flexible, they're also manufacturer independent, and their platform can scale across a whole variety of installations. Sorry, next slide. So wrapping up, in closing, already at the end, that was pretty quick. Sustain Solar, we believe in forming strong partnerships with leading innovators like some of those mentioned today, as well as others that are coming on the next slide. Our flexibility allows us to optimize the best technology for your needs. And we have a great team of experts who are experts in their own right, and we're continually engaging with suppliers. We have a lot of supplier training, both in-house and then at their site, a lot of field trips to the various different sites so we can truly understand real-life applications and provide the best applications of products. So we, like I said, with our experience of these 83 systems of different combinations of integrations, we really do have a very solid technology of how to optimize based on the application. And yeah, by leveraging the latest advancements in our partners' energy storage and energy management, we can future-proof our customers' systems and ensure that they focus on their core business and we can take care of your energy needs. Last slide. We provide design to delivery services. We can help all the way through. We have manufacturing hubs in Cape Town and in Nairobi. A reminder, we've delivered across the continent and we have integrated a wide range of technologies and brands as shown below. I look forward, well, thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation as well. Now we're indeed onto the next part of the webinar, so the Q&A session. Again, please feel free to ask your questions in the chat, also referring to whom you're asking the question to. But maybe now taking it backwards, if you like. So from the order of speakers, immediately a question to you, Julie. How many years of use? Well, one of the questions that came in. So how many years of use should we consider before replacing an LFP04 lithium battery in a solar plant? And is EcoFi able to perform energy management with and without grid?
Yeah, sure. The second question is a little bit easier. Yes, EcoFi on grid and off grid. They're actually at this point, slightly better for on-grid management with multiple sources of electricity. So if you have grid and you have solar and you have other renewables or other sources, that's really where it's best. We're working with them on various rural applications. And sorry, the first question was about how long until you replace your lithium batteries, correct?
How long until you need to consider replacing the LFP04 lithium battery?
Well, they tell us 10 years. They definitely tell us 10 years. It's Balance Cell, and I believe it's Balance Cell has algorithms. I think it's both of them, to be honest. That let me just check. Yeah, Balance Cell and Polarium both have internal algorithms to try to maximize the life. So, you know, with there's you can speak in terms of years or in terms of cycles. It depends on the use, but both of these technologies are doing their best. Both of these companies are doing their best to maximize the lifetime. So we are looking at 10 years, plus or minus, for the average application.
All right, thank you very much for that. And then also maybe a question to Jérôme. So for the NES storage system, what is the pressure volume relationship for air? Well, so the water pressure will fall quite quickly as the air expands. What is the round trip efficiency? How would this compare with a flywheel system with low friction or air bearings? And another question would be in terms of that solution, the 250 bar prototype that you spoke about. As you said, it's in progress. When do you envisage that would be implementable?
Thank you. That's a long question. Do you hear me? My microphone is on? Yes?
Yeah.
So for the last question, I think mid of next year, mid 2025, we will have our 250 bar prototype finished. The most difficult part, as I said, is to be able to use that high pressure on the hydroelectric turbine, because it's like if we had a 2,500 meters head, which has never been down. The highest head is in Switzerland, and it's 1,883 meters, if I remember well. So that's we are now working on that, and have to have a perfect jet on the turbine to avoid losses and to keep the efficiency. Regarding the other question, where there was multiple questions, so the first one about the round trip efficiency, of course, we have a lower round trip efficiency than any electrochemical technologies. In the slides, we were about around 60%. Still during the lifetime of the storage unit, we will release more kilowatt hour, but of course, when you have a lower round trip efficiency, you need to inject more energy. So, for example, in a solar coupled project, we would probably certainly have to have a bigger PV array than another technology to compensate for that lower efficiency. Regarding the ratio between air and water, that was as you could see on the illustration, the tank is not always is not going to be full of water, because the air is there and compressed, and that's where we store the energy. But at the maximum volume of water, we will have a ratio of 1/3, 2/3. So 1/3 of air, 2/3 of water inside. And as for the pressure decreasing, we don't go to zero. So we are working on a pressure range, specific pressure range, for some specific reason as well, so as to maintain our efficiency through the range. So we can start at 250 bars and we will go lower, but not to zero. I don't know if that answered the question. Was there something else?
No, I think that would cover the question. Thank you. Then moving on to Royal Power Energy Limited and Energy Limited, apologies. Yes, so the sodium batteries, will they, do you think, as they're like a relatively new technology, do you expect them to be used more than lithium ion ones? Adewale? Okay, let's maybe wait a minute for that answer to come. But in the meantime, maybe I'll go straight through to Hadija. Yes, another question is how you ensure the long-term sustainability of your social enterprise operations while making profits. Hadija, can you hear me? Yes, thank you. I think you're muted.
Okay. Can you ask the question again?
Yes, sure. So basically how you ensure the long-term sustainability of your social enterprise and its operations while making profits.
Oh, thank you so much. One way we are trying to ensure that, one, we have adopted to lithium storage batteries. In the beginning, we're using the lead batteries, but now we use lithium batteries that have performed well. We installed them since 2021. It's now 4 years and perfect, they're working well. So that has helped our solution relevant in the community, and it is benefiting our users without any downfall. Via profitability, as people keep using it, they subscribe and pay a commission to Ecolife.
Julia, you are mute, I think.
Now it's me who is muted. Sorry, apologies for that. So question, now moving on to Tristan, sorry. So the question in the chat was, in your presentation, you mentioned cost effectiveness of battery storage over diesel generators. This slightly contradicts the fact that BESS are more expensive to consider in most business models, especially in large megawatt hour BESS applications. How do you justify this fact that BESS and DG is almost at the same cost of energy per project lifetime? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's a great question. So there was a recent study done in South America, I think maybe 2022, where they looked at the levelized cost of energy versus the levelized cost of storage for 350 kilowatt, 350 kVA diesel generator and 270 kilowatt battery energy storage system. And so they took the upfront costs, the siting costs, the charge and discharge costs from the grid for the battery, the fuel costs for the diesel generator, and they even factored in changing of all of the battery cells at the 10-year mark. So they were looking at a 20-year service life, so a 20-year service life of the 350 kVA genset, and 20-year service life of the equivalent battery energy storage system, including changing all of the cells at the halfway mark, at the 10-year mark. And what they found is over that 20-year lifetime, that the total cost of ownership for both energy sources was about the same. So yes, there's larger upfront costs for the battery energy storage system, but even taking into account changing out all of the cells after 10 years to a second set, still the cost of diesel fuel and maintenance and servicing adds up over time. So over the total time that you own the assets, comes out about even for 350 kVA genset. I'd be happy if somebody wants to message me directly about it. I'd be happy to provide the study that I used. I'm happy to share it. Thanks, Julia.
Thank you very much for that as well. I might maybe, I mean, there are quite a few questions still in the chat, but I might actually ask a last general question to all the panelists. Oh wait, where did it go? It obviously just left. So yes, indeed, it was observed that 90% of the presentations and experiments are taking place in Africa. Based on this, can any of the presenters educate me about what has been done in other continents competitively, and if the same policies are being implemented around the globe, especially in cold regions, such as Canada, but maybe I guess there are also other countries, colder regions around. Any takers? So all the applications mainly focused on Africa. I don't know, Julie, go ahead, please.
No, I don't have a precise answer to that, but I am from Canada. So I do know that we have terrible practices where we say that we're recycling things and then we put it all on boats and ship it off to developing countries where people are put in, as you highlighted at the beginning of the presentation, really terrible situations. We don't have, I don't think there's as much battery waste because there's just been a longer grid history in Canada, but we have a lot of electronic waste that definitely goes to, I think it's usually like India, sort of South Asian kind of nations, and they are trying to develop change some of the old beehive coal-fired generation plants, which have been shut down as we onboard more hydro. They're trying to turn those into smelting and other recycling factories, but it's I would say from the Canadian point of view, it's a little bit embarrassing. So if somebody has a more global view, I would welcome that as well.
Any other takers for that one? Okay. Well then, just maybe rounding up slowly and maybe going back to the presentation on indeed end-of-life battery management. How did your companies face the challenge of identifying high standard battery recycling plants? So, or alternatively also, how did you, what common mistakes, if you like, do you see that the consumers make so that the battery life has been massively reduced, where and as a result the batteries need to be recycled sooner and end up in the waste cycle quicker? Hello, Adewale. I can see you now here, but not, you're on mute. Still on mute, or at least I don't hear you. Maybe someone else.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can change audio settings, maybe Adewale, but yeah, we don't hear you.
Still not, unfortunately.
Hello?
Yes, now I hear something.
You can hear me?
A bit louder, that would be great, but I can hear something, yes.
Okay. Can you hear me perfectly, or it's still bad?
Softly.
Okay, I'll try and shout a bit louder. We've seen especially in Nigeria, most people don't use the batteries like they are supposed to. One of the biggest issues that we see with a number of our clients is they use, it's the DOD, which is depth of discharge, where the battery is supposed to have a depth of discharge of about 80%. So you use the battery up until 80% and then recharge it. But most people who are not sort of like in tune with battery technology seem to drain it all the way 100%. And that is one of the biggest issues that we've seen affecting the life of a battery. Even with most technologically astute customers, they always seem to drain the battery all the way to the end before they recharge it again, and that almost shortens the life by about 30–40% at least. It's one of the biggest issues that we faced here in battery health.
And I mean, from memory, at some point that was recommended. Oh, please, Hadija, please go ahead.
Yeah, at our social enterprise, we set our batteries to switch off once they reach 30% discharge. So at 30%, the system just goes off. So we have adopted the same practice even when we reuse them for small homes. We have a control system that sets out to switch off the battery once it's 30% charge. So that has helped to sustain the life of the batteries for the big loads and for the small loads.
Thank you very much. Any other type of, well, maybe misuse or yeah, Julie, go ahead.
I kind of wish I had included this one in my deck because I can't do screen sharing here, but I do have a slide from Polarium that talks about their recycling practice that they did do in Europe and that they are going to implement in Africa. So I think it's not about choosing the best existing factory, but actually starting kind of from scratch on the continent, leveraging best practices that have been developed elsewhere. And I think the problem that we always face is equipment and technology. So there's there's the fourth step, for example, is mineral extraction. It says through different processes, and the battery cells are crushed and sorted into black mass and other materials. So it's very high tech, and it looks like it requires a lot of heavy machinery. And Polarium and Balancel are both doing their best to bring the best practices they can to South Africa. The idea is that recycled batteries can decrease the carbon footprint by a factor of 15 once they're recycled. So I think they're trying, right? The intention is there, and as ARE puts out more information about just how bad the practices are, maybe that will inspire some more investment into the industry.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, well then, indeed, time for the closing remarks. I'll keep it brief, but thank you all very much for the different presentations with so many different types of storage solutions, really. You can see there's a whole bandwidth really available for the sector. And thank you to all the speakers for those interesting presentations and answering the questions from the chat. Also, thank you to the audience. And there were some more questions as well, I saw. Feel free to reach out to the panelists. This presentation will be, or this webinar will be shared on ARE's LinkedIn as well as YouTube channels. So feel free to go back to those also to find the contact details. And yes, I think, again, thank you all very much. And herewith, I look forward to seeing you all maybe next time.